In my last video, I discussed visiting the WWE Performance Center in Orlando to train in an effort to improve my in-ring skills and get back up on the main roster in a more meaningful creative storyline. And I went all the way up until finding out that my contract was now going to be put into the hands of Michael Cole, where I was now going to work under him as an announcer. So in this video, I'm going to take you from that moment all the way up through 2020. So Michael Cole explained to me that he wanted me to be a panelist on the Raw pre-show. So back at that time, WWE did like a pre-show sports panel, kind of like what they do before their premium live events. But this was before Raw, every Raw. And it would take place at the headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, at a studio they had there. So each week, I would fly out on Mondays and we would record the show live. And it would be typically 30 minutes. Sometimes it would be an hour, depending. But right up until Raw went on the air. So it was live every week. And it would basically be giving a preview or rundown of the match card and just making some predictions storyline wise. So this was my first time getting to really experience any kind of announcer commentating at WWE and trying that for myself, which, if you don't know about this, it's incredibly difficult because you're not just giving your own opinion. First of all, no. You have to put forth the story. That's what people don't realize is in professional wrestling, the commentators actually drive the storyline. And if you don't believe it, have you ever tried watching wrestling with the sound off? Totally different experience. In fact, that's a good way for performers to train. That's what they tell you to do is if you want to study a match, turn the sound off and watch. So that's a tip for you youngsters out there who are early on in the business and, want to study matches. That's a good way to do it. But anyway, the announcers drive the storyline. And so you have the play-by-play person, which literally calls the action in the ring. Then you have the color commentators. You have the heel color commentator who hates on anything. They can get away with anything. Then you have the babyface one. Now, the babyface one has to put over the babyface stars and is always of good moral character. Now, they always had me play the babyface announcer, the one of good moral character. Okay, I appreciate that. They see me, David Otunga, the person, as having good moral character. I appreciate that. But David Otunga, the on-screen character, the A-list, I don't know. The lawyer, I think his moral character comes into question sometimes. So anyway, it's kind of a disconnect where that's how people know me on WWE TV. But then now that heel character is playing the babyface announcer. Like, it's weird. Didn't necessarily fit, but it's part of what made this quite the challenge. Anyway, so I go to Stamford every week and I'm working with Corey Graves and Scott Stanford. Shout out to both of those guys. They're awesome. Graves and I didn't have any experience with him. I didn't know him before this. I think we'd met in passing one time. And I didn't think he liked me very much. I never really thought about him, to be perfectly honest. But then when we met, we realized we gelled pretty quick and had actually really great chemistry because neither one of us takes each other, ourselves too seriously. So we would have so much fun just throwing jabs back and forth and like during the pre-show, like legitimately trying to pop the other one. Like that was what was fun is I would try to pop him, he would try to pop me, whatever. But like, teasing each other. Man, it's had a really great time. Shout out to Corey Graves. He's been killing it, on commentary. He's one of the best, man. But like really, really cool brother, easy to work with, fun guy, good guy. But anyway, so at this time, I was literally coming in and filling the shoes of Alex Riley, who was my good friend also, extremely talented performer. Shout out to A-Rai. Super talented because also he was doing a great job on this Raw pre-show. Like he was doing a great job. But Alex Riley wanted to perform in the ring. He didn't want to be a commentator. And so he had requested to go back and start, working. So they ended up sending him to NXT And he had a nice little run there till ultimately they let him go, which befuddled me because he's such a great talent. But I related to that because here I am. Now, remember, I wanted to get back into the ring. That's why I had asked to go to the Performance Center and had been training and trying to get creative just to get a storyline that fit. So then I would go back into the ring. But at the same time, like, the reason I was here is the way they had been booking me before, had been booking my character, was diminishing my brand by always having him lose. And, you know, it just wasn't the light that aligned with David Otunga, the person, because not with my personal IP. So they were diminishing my personal IP outside of wrestling. And why this became important was because, like I mentioned a couple of videos ago, I was given an ultimatum by my then fiance that I basically had to choose my family over career. And that caused me to make a choice. And I chose my family because the career, WWE, was not technically my dream at that point. And it was really hard to rationalize being away from my family so much. And the ultimatum was unfair. I was going to say what it was. And, if I could go back, I would still probably make the same decision because of who I am. But anyway, I'm just trying to give you the mindset. So I'm trying to now manage a relationship with WWE where they will treat me more in line with who I am. Give me more of give my character more respect, make him a legitimate threat that makes it worth my while for the time that I do have to be away from my family. But also, trying to manage that where I don't have to be away as much. Okay, so during this time though, I'm doing the Raw pre-show. I'm happy to do that. I want to please Vince, but the whole time I'm doing this, the plan is I'm doing this so I can transition back into the ring, because this is a way to increase my value and increase my cachet with WWE and in Vince's eyes. Because there's more than one way to move up a card. And sometimes, if they see you one way, they kind of get locked into viewing you that way, where you have to completely step away and give them time to forget about you and come back and almost reinvent yourself, or step away and achieve something in mainstream media and then come back, because that always seemed to work. And for me, that strategy worked very well because I was always getting booked on things outside of WWE, and they loved that. So that was raising my cachet in Vince's eyes. I want to let you in on my strategy at this point. So basically, before, my character was being presented in a way that diminished my IP. And, there's nothing about the real David Otunga that says loser in any way, shape, or form. That is one word that is absolutely not associated with me. It's the antithesis of David Otunga. So what ended up happening is, in a way, I took the A-list character, I took him out of the ring, and then still was working with WWE, but I became the A-list character in real life. That A-list character that Vince envisioned for me, I became in real life and behind the scenes to him. So the professional wrestler, but also the Hollywood star who was booking movies on the cover of magazines, on TMZ, and in headlines outside of wrestling. That was now me, and Vince loved it. So if you look at what I did, I became the A-list gimmick in real life. And it's kind of one of those things where I blurred the lines between, what's performance and reality, kayfabe and reality, which Vince loves that stuff. So, but that's basically what I did, and he loved it. During this time, I'm coming up with creative. I'm still training. I even found a ring in Chicago. Shout out to Doug Simmons, by the way, in Chicago. That's the homie. Shout out to Jay Washington, an independent wrestler. He's got a podcast, Before the Bell podcast. shout out to them. Check it out. But I ran into him in the gym in Chicago. Told him I was looking for a ring to train at during this time. He put me in touch with Doug Simmons. I went there and started training. And actually, it was really cool because, all right, look, so I'm there training. I need a practice dummy. Do you know who I used? That's right, my cousin Brian. And I have awesome pictures and video. And so like, it was cool because I was basically just walking through stuff and trying stuff, but I was also kind of teaching Brian. And remember, he was on the road with me so much, like Cena used to call him my entourage, that I actually was low key thinking like, when I get back on the road, like or in the creative storyline, the way my character was, I was already bringing Brian anyway, like as my assistant in real life. So I wanted to kind of blur that. I wanted to teach him how to bump a little bit, so then he could be in certain storylines. Because don't forget, if you go back to April 5th, 2010, when I hosted Raw and I had my backstage segments, I put Brian in the backstage segment. He was in that. So was my friend Rob, my barber, but I had real people in it, and Brian was in it. So anyway, I was slowly trying to work him into the storyline. Just some backstage stuff. But anyway, I was still actively training and coming up with stuff. And so then I had my last match in WWE on July 15th, 2015, and it was in Rockford, Illinois. So Rockford, that's the closest place that WWE performs. That's my hometown. Like my family lives in Rockford right now to this day. So, it's a home show. So I asked to be on the card, called Carano. He's like, oh, sure. They booked me for it. I showed up, I had new gear made, the lawyer gimmick in black, and they told me I was wrestling R-Truth, my buddy. So easy, which was cool. It was super cool. The whole family was there. My son's in the front row. I come out, and as soon as I come out, like the place is cheering. This is my hometown. Even though I'm a heel, I come out and I get in the ring, and I ask, hey, I want to cut a promo. Sure. So, and you know what? I remember, because now, while I had been out of the ring, Roman Reigns is now becoming the man, and he's like in the main event and whatever. And I remember him asking me, and he's like, hey, Oos, how long are you guys planning on going? And I remember telling him, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm cutting a promo at the beginning, but the match won't be all that long. We'll make sure we'll save you some time. But I remember him asking me that. It was cool because like, it was way different from the way the other top guy would have gone about it. So shout out to Roman Reigns. He's cool, man. He's a cool dog. Anyway, I go out. They're cheering for me. I cut the promo, but in the promo, I healed out on him. And it was awesome. Got a ton of boos and stuff, but it's just so fun being in front of your home crowd. Truth comes out, Ronnie. We have a great match, and it's full circle, man. He was my pro from NXT. We have a great match. I did a couple moves like I'd never done on WWE TV before. Picked him up at a running power slam and stuff, and it was cool. Did a STO, like just different things I hadn't done, but like it was fun and it was showing what I could do. And I remember, so then I basically had most of the match, dominated him. Truth is so good. Shout out to Ronnie. It's my hometown. Of course, hey man, we're gonna give you the match, but babyface is up. So I let him, I think he slipped one on me, rolled me up at the end, whatever. I lost. Funny part is I go in the back, right? And as soon as I get to the back, the agent's like, wow, like that was great. That was really good. Like, that's one of the best matches I've ever seen you have. And then I remember like, wait, when's the last time you wrestled? Oh man, it's been a couple of years. But the thing of it is, like, I've been practicing and working on my own. So that compliment meant a lot to me. That really did, because it showed that finally, like, I got to a level where they, and I knew they meant it. I knew the match was good. Where, all right, I feel like I've progressed. I've earned some respect. Anyway, Ronnie comes through the back. So Truth comes to the back, daps me up. I'm thanking him, and he's like, "Oh, tell me." He's like, "Hey, man, little David took a swing at me out there." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, your son." He goes, "After I won, I rolled out of the ring, and he's like, I was by the crowd, and he's like, your son tried to punch me." And I was like, "No way." And so then I went to the curtain, and I saw, yeah, my son was out there crying because I lost. And so I went and I got him. to bring him backstage. I had my sister come bring him and meet me. I think David he was like about to be 6, like at this time. It was like a month before his 6th birthday. Anyway, I bring him backstage and he's wiping his tears. And I'm like, David, what's wrong? He said, Dad, just tell me the truth. Just tell me. Did you let R-Truth win? And I was like, oh man, what do you think? And he's like, I think you did. I said, yeah, I did. He's like, I knew it. I knew it. There's no way you would have lost. You were killing him out there. And then I couldn't understand. He's like, but why did you let him win? I was like, hey, we'll talk about that later. Wait, don't worry about that. Just talk about that later. But that's where my son got smartened up to the business. But yeah, but hey, man, my son's a real one. He's ride or die. He was swinging at R-Truth. My son might have only been 6. But boy, he was ready to put the paws on R-Truth. During this time, like, I'm only working 1 day a week, and I've got like some extra free time. And so again, I'm home with the family a lot, and just trying to heal things, be a good dad, a good fiance. And then at some point, it's like I wanted to start doing something, with my law degree. I wanted to get back into practice a little bit, or just doing something. And so I started taking on, like, I would call them side quests, like legal side quests. Might represent somebody in court. I told the story how I showed up for my cousin Brian, represented him in traffic court, got him out of a ticket. I represented my friend Rob one time in court, but I never told this story. Somebody reached out to me and they had a strange request, and they wanted to know if I did any private detective work. So my answer was, yeah, of course. Yeah, sure, I do private detective work. But yeah, of course. No, I don't do any. But sure, I wanted to see where he was going with this. This gentleman wanted to hire me to hit on his fiance and see if she would be receptive or if she would turn me down. And he was serious about this and was offered to pay money. And I'm like, so wait, tell me what you want me to do. He said, I want you to go in and I want you to try and pick her up and just, maintain surveillance, like see what happens, see what she says, and then come back and then just report to me. He said, I pay you for it. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Send me a deposit. It was enough money where I was like, hey, you know what? I'll do this. This sounds wild enough. What the heck? This is what side missions are all about. And so this was in Illinois, and this really happened. So I'm gonna give you the details, but I'm gonna spare people's names and whatever. So he tells me what he wants it to go down, and the girl his fiance is going to Portillo's, my favorite restaurant already, with her friends for their lunch break at work or whatever. So the plan was I was supposed to just encounter her at Portillo's and try and pick her up. All right. So he sends me a picture of her. This was so cool because this is like right out of a movie. And in fact, I really did this. So I'm creeping in the parking lot. I see her come in. I'm like, all right. I walk in and I see where they're at. And I go and I make sure I get in the line like next to her. Not necessarily like in her line, but next to her. And then I don't know. I think I tapped her or said something like, what's good here? What's good here? Something like that. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter what I say. She was into it. I was like, dang it. And then I don't know what she told me. She didn't come here enough or whatever she said. So there's a couple of things here and there. Just nice little banter. I was like, oh, she's feeling me. I was like, man, I feel bad. Anyway, we ordered the food. Then we were over there waiting for the pickup. And then now it was like, all right, let me just go over the kill, see what happens. And so I go and talk to her for a little bit. And then I'm like, well, you're right to leave, but I'd like to see you again or something. You mind if can I have your phone number? Thought about it. She rifling through her bag. I shouldn't, I'm engaged. And I said, oh, well, he's a lucky man. And walked off. Thank God. I was gonna have a hard time telling this guy if she took my phone number. Like, I don't know. I might have had to lie to him, but like protect his feelings. No, I would have told you. But anyway, thank goodness that she was good. So anyway, told the guy, he was happy, paid me the rest of my money, and that was one of my lawyer side quests, like stuff I did during this time. And then the other thing was, thank goodness she didn't watch WWE, because I don't think she knew who I was, but then I did kind of suspect that. Like, she did kind of give me a double take at one point. I actually think she might have known me from I Love New York. But either way, this was one of my side quests I did during that time because I had free time. They're still paying me. So in July 2016, SmackDown was getting a rebrand, as it was now going to be SmackDown Live and was going to be on the USA Network. So I find out about a week before, maybe two, before it starts. Michael Cole calls me, tells me he wants to move me to become a commentator on SmackDown. Now, I never knew this was in the cards. This was new to me, because doing the Raw pre-show is different from doing commentary out at the ring. I never thought about that, but I said, okay, it's a better position. I'm on TV every week. And it was Vince's idea because, again, this Raw pre-show was only on the WWE Network. Not a whole lot of people watched this. We didn't think anybody was, but there was one person who watched it religiously. That was Vince. They said he loved it. Anyway, moved me to SmackDown commentary. And it was around this time that I got an announcer's contract. So before I'd been on a talent contract, but now I was on an announcer's contract. And there's a couple things with this. So first of all, I was still an independent contractor as an announcer. But I mean, technically, like it said in the contract, I was an independent contractor. Was I an independent contractor? That's debatable. I mean, I worked for a company, the same company, a number of years. I did very employee-ish things, showed up at the same place, but I was treated as an independent contractor, if you know what I mean. Anyway, also, it now stated I was an announcer. So this was a little bit different from a talent contract. But the thing of it was, I was happy, to sign the new contract because now I was essentially getting paid almost as much as I was making before, but with way less dates and no physicality. But the problem with that was I was still trying to get back in the ring, but now being a commentator, this made it a little bit more difficult because now I had to be on the show every week, commentating. However, I did know, hey, there were certain times where commentators got back in the ring. Jerry Lawler, that happened with me. So I was thinking, all right, well, we can figure a way into this in the storyline. So I was always trying to figure a way to get back into the ring. Let me talk about how difficult commentating is. I was telling you about talking on the Raw pre-show. Commentating, first of all, we're not out here giving our real opinions because now that would be interesting. But listen, commentating is layered. I'll tell you why. When I watch something happen in the ring and they ask me a question, my first reaction is my real reaction. What do I think about this character? Well, I don't think this individual looks that great. I don't think he has the body. I don't think he has the charisma, personally. His moves are nice, but whatever. But I can't say that. Well, I know this person has heat backstage or, politics-wise, they're not going over. They're not getting a push. I can't say that. But these are the things I know. Or, oh, so-and-so, they're pushing to the moon. She's going over and everything. You cannot say that. All right, so that's off the table. Now, I have to tell the storyline. But, again, like I said, I'm a heel. That would be easy, but I'm playing the babyface. I'm a heel playing the babyface commentator, trying to put forth the storyline. And then you have Vince in your ear, feeding you lines, which is cool. Like, I also got to talk about, okay, the different positions you have here. So you have the play-by-play guy, which Mauro Ranallo was our play-by-play guy. Shout out to Mauro. He was awesome. This was Mauro's first time doing this, and this was my first time meeting Mauro. Cool guy, super talented. But again, this was his first time doing WWE, which he's amazing on boxing, like one of the best there is. This was very different from that, even because within WWE, like now, he's got to cover the traffic. He basically has to be Michael Cole. Michael Cole is so respected because he's so amazing at his job, and people don't realize it unless like you do this. Even people in the company, I'm gonna tell you right now. Like when I was a talent, I didn't know how amazing Michael Cole was at his job until I started doing commentating, and you see, like, man, he's great. There's a lot you have to keep track of. So Mauro was like our quarterback, and he had a lot to keep his eye on. Then you had JBL, who's the veteran heel announcer. Easy. All he has to do is give his opinion and just be JBL. And you have me, where now my character would have been similar to JBL's. Actually, that would have been great if I had his spot. But again, now I have to be the babyface as a heel. So I'm trying to learn to navigate that. But it was fun, and man, I learned a whole lot. But it was tough. Like it was difficult emotionally, because remember, man, my dream was to become WWE champion. I wanted to be a single star, have good matches, be respectable in the ring. And the way, my career went is I had to take this alternative path to protect my IP, to protect who I was as a character, to then try and get back into the ring, but in a better spot that was more respected. But now I'm a commentator sitting front row, watching all of my friends achieve their dreams, like right in front of me. And I'm happy for them, but man, it's tough because it's like, I want to be in there too. And I'm sitting so close to it, watching this. I once heard Maven describe this. Shout out to Maven. He's awesome. And I related to his description so much, but it's like, watching I think he said it's like, you go to the dance with a girl and then she's with another guy, or seeing your girl with, I don't know, another guy, something like that. But like, I get it. Like wrestling is the girl. And it's like, man, I want to be in there, but like, man, it was tough. So anyway, it's really tough because it's sitting being that close to your dream, but not being able to participate in it yet. But then like, I did find it rewarding, like helping put over my friends and other people achieving their dreams. And so that's a way of like, giving, like it made me happy. Because another thing that was really cool about this was now that I was on the SmackDown announce team, I got to participate in the production meetings. Now, this was awesome. This is one of the coolest things I got to do being at WWE, and just was so eye-opening, especially from being a talent. Like, I had no idea what went on in these meetings. I'll tell you what it was like. So, whatever call time was for the talent, the production meeting would be, we'd have to be there like an hour or two ahead. It would always run late. Then we would get in there, everybody would be seated, and then eventually, when Vince came in, it started. First, they would have, sometimes they might have somebody tell a joke. Otherwise, they would check in with WWE social media, and they would just let Vince know the trends, what people were talking about on social media from the previous show, what things worked, what things didn't, yada, yada, yada. Then if there was a live event, or a premium live event or a pay-per-view coming up, they might touch on that a little bit. Otherwise, they would get right into the show for that night, which was SmackDown for me. And so then they would go through it segment by segment. And so Road Dogg was the head producer, the head writer. He would get up and usually lead this, and then he would defer to different agents or writers for their parts. So like, there's opening segment, he would defer to the writer, who would then explain the opening segment, what the purpose was, the promo, who's cutting it or whatever, and how that was going to set up later in the night, yada, yada, yada. Then they would go through the matches, and whoever the agent was would just explain it, and then the agent would say what they were looking for in the match. Now, this was interesting because rarely, if ever, were like specific wrestling moves ever discussed. Like the technical part of it, that's not what this was about. This was more macro level, storyline wise, where the wins and the losses didn't even necessarily matter. It was more about where they're going with the story, or people being represented, but or like how the win was supposed to elevate a character, and what it would do to the other character. For example, like if CM Punk was going to win, was it going to be a dominant win? Was it going to be a competitive match? Was he going to have to barely win or sneak something on somebody? Like, these are the kind of things that were important, and not necessarily so much as, does he beat him with his finisher, or how, this. Although it was important sometimes, like whether somebody would submit or not. Also, the production meetings were fascinating because I got to hear real feedback on the talent. We would hear the road reports sometimes from the live events. Because remember I said, like, talent, when you do live events, there's agents there. They submit a report of every live event, which is like a report card. And so we would hear these sometimes, like if there was anything notable that stuck out, like you would hear who had a great match. Sometimes you would hear maybe a not so great match or something that wasn't over. But it was eye-opening to me. And you would hear who they're high on. Then I could see sometimes, like when they would be pushing a certain talent, and then it would be hard to put your finger on, but something might not work out. And all of a sudden it would be like, one week we're pushing this talent, now that talent is like not even mentioned anymore. But then also like seeing what things influenced, match outcomes. If there were, sometimes there might be too many baby faces going over in a row or something like that. That's all right. Let's have the heel go over. Different things like that. And then how they swapped out talent sometimes. Because you might find out, you're having a match earlier in the day, and then later, like the opponent gets changed, and you wonder why. As a talent, or like if the talent is switched off, the talent wonders if it's something they did or something like that, when actually might have nothing to do with that. They might think somebody else matches up better, and the point of that segment was for the other talent, not the talent who was replaced. But the talent who was replaced, they don't know this. So they don't know if they're in the doghouse, if they have heat, whatever's going on. And then I would hear stuff from time to time where like they would give somebody like a chance, basically, or like this is their last chance. Somebody doesn't do something particularly good, like, all right, give them one chance, like, they got to get this right this time, or whatnot. I remember, like, I used to clue people in as much as I could, because I just, was thinking, like, man, if somebody was telling me, hypothetically, my punches were terrible, hey, they weren't the best. Somebody was telling me this, and like, hey, he better really pick them up this match, like this better look believable. I'd want somebody to tell me. This exact scenario happened, and I did tell that individual. And I remember he was really grateful, and thankfully, I guess he cleaned it up that match, because he went on, to have a good career. But yeah, but there was a few times like little things like this happened where if I found out some information that could help a talent, I would go tell him. I wasn't gatekeeping. I would go tell him, because hey, I wish somebody would have done that for me. But the production meetings were awesome, and just seeing how Vince ran them was cool. I'll tell you a story that just lets you know how these meetings were. One time we're waiting for Vince, and like he's late. He'd be late sometimes, but this time he was really late. And then Road Dogg stepped out of the room, took a call, came back in. He's like, guys, I got an update. Apparently, Vince just tore both of his quads at the gym, like while he was squatting. And we're like, what? And I'm like, wait. He tore his quads before, the surgically repaired ones? Yeah, they tore them again. And so we're like, all right. So then, we're thinking we're getting ready to start the meeting. And then Road Dogg's like, oh, but we got to wait for him. We're like, what do you mean? He's coming in. Like, wait, he just tore both of his quads. Is he going to the hospital? No. he wants to come in first. And even the way Road Dogg was telling us, it was funny because like he realized how ridiculous this was. And I'm thinking, I was like, is this real? And sure enough, we waited like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I'll never forget this. They open up the door. I kid you not. Two guys are holding Vince under each leg, and he's got his arms draped over. They carry him in like on a throne, like this is Coming to America or something. They carry him in, and he's got his arms like this, his legs just dangling. They put him in the chair. I kid you not. He's acting like this is totally serious. He doesn't sell it at all. All right, social media. What do you have? Right to business. So okay, you just got carried in here, and nobody's gonna say anything. They put you in a chair. All right, right to business. You got it. You got it. Obviously, he never stood up the whole time, and I know they had to carry him out, but I left before getting to see that. I think he made everybody leave first. But the point of this was, this guy. I mean, he's no joke. Like, he's a badass. Like, he didn't need to do this, but the reason he wanted to show up and go through this was just to let people know how much of a badass he is. It worked, man, because God forbid, but any normal person would have gone straight to the hospital, already been in surgery probably, or loaded with painkillers, not sitting through a production meeting, tearing up the whole show of Raw and rewriting it, or whatever happened that day, because that did happen a lot. Oh, while we're on this, here's something else. I don't know if people realize, like, you might have heard rumors about this, but this happened nearly every week. It's like, they would write the shows out for like months, and we would have the production meeting. We would go through the whole show. Vince would look over. No, all right. He'd kick everybody out, tear up the show, make them rewrite another one. What? We've been in production meeting for 2 hours? Nope, then scrap the whole thing. I do it again. This happened like nearly every week. I'm telling you, it happened all the time. But I don't know, there's something about Vince thrived on spontaneity. Because the other thing was, a lot of times in WWE, like if it's Raw or SmackDown, which is live, we would know that we have a segment coming up. So like there'd be a backstage. You can pre-tape that because it would be called a pre-tape. But for whatever reason, they would always wind up having to do it live. Just and Vince said it one time. He thinks people perform better live. Not always. Sometimes, some people, not always. But also during this time, it was just cool getting to know, like the production staff, the agents. During this time, this is when I became better friends with Jamie Noble, believe it or not, because now I saw him every week in the production meetings, and I wasn't in the ring, so he didn't have my matches. So like, and he knew I was a commentator, like I had a little bit more clout. So like he respected me a little bit more. But also, man, like we've worked together so long, and we're always cool. Shout out to Jamie Noble again. Tonga, you still work here? Always. But shout out to him. Also during this time, like I got to know Kevin Dunn and like work with him, which was awesome. And Shane McMahon. This was really cool because Shane McMahon had a huge part on SmackDown. I don't know if he was the GM or what he was, but like he was heavily involved in the creative and would be in the production meetings. And again, like I remember I was just starting out in commentary, and I remember like I ate with Shane McMahon on a number of occasions, like in catering. Like he would come sit by me and we would talk. And I remember he was giving me advice on commentating, like right when I started, and trying to find my own voice. Like he was just really cool. And we bonded over, he has 3 sons and I have a son. And so like we would always, talk about our boys and stuff. And like Shane's just a really good dude, chill dude. Always super cool, calm, collected, like professional, but like kind. Like he's a good dude, man. Shout out to Shane McMahon. He is a cool dude. Aside from working with Shane McMahon, I was doing commentary with Mauro and JBL. This was my first time really getting to work with JBL. And, I walked into it, having heard the rumors about him that, he's like a backstage bully and stuff. So I was a little trepidatious, but my experience was not that at all. Like we clicked from the moment we met, it was like mutual respect, whatever. Like he was cool. Like I never experienced anything like that. Nothing like that. John is one of my good friends in the wrestling business. I just saw JBL not too long ago. You know, shout out to you, John. He's awesome. I consider him a good friend. Um, but it was weird to me, like how people perceived him. I don't know what he was like, I guess, when he was a talent and performing, but like what I saw from him was he would rib people, yeah, but like it wasn't really ever malicious. Like if you sold it, he would rib you incessantly. Like him and Byron Saxton, that's their relationship. Like, and like JBL, he just has fun, like teasing Byron left and right. But like, he's not the only one. Other people do that too. Now, Byron sells it, but Byron also seems to be a good sport and kind of plays along with it. Like, but also, these are softball, like ribs I'm talking about here. So like, it's breaking somebody, kind of like I described it. In my opinion, it's kind of like how like Jamie Noble and I, he would break my balls or whatever. Like, hey man, we're having fun. You know what I mean? Nothing malicious, nothing serious like that. But anyway, man, I had a good time working with JBL. He's super knowledgeable, funny guy, great chemistry. Yeah, really cool working with JBL. Now, another thing about commentating is, I don't think people realize, definitely not towns, but like in this job, you might just have to say something you don't necessarily believe, and they might feed you something. Or the other times, you're just trying to advance a story or do whatever. And I remember one time I was trying to be funny. And I made a joke about Kevin Owens because he was wrestling in a t-shirt. I'd never seen this before. But at the time, Kevin Owens was like one of my favorite talents. I thought he was so different, and he's so unique, but he's Kevin Owens, man. He's really good. So I was a fan of his, right? We always got along. It was cool. And then in the match, I said something. I was trying to put him over. I said something about Kevin and the Battle of the Bulge, right? It wasn't even that funny of a joke, right? It wasn't even that good. But boy, he was mad about it. Like on Twitter, I think he said something that was like coming at me. He was shoot mad. And I was like, oh man, I played along with it. But like, yo, I wasn't serious, dude. Like, I really like you. And then we're cool. I think I eventually told him that. I don't know if I did or not, but like we were cool. Hey, if I never said that to you, Kevin, I can't remember if we talked about this or not. Hey man, it was a joke. You're actually like one of my favorite performers, and tons of respect. Yeah, that's what it was. Battle of the Balls. I'm not talking about Kevin Owens' stomach. It was funny to me. It's clever. By late 2016, I was starting to become established as a commentator on SmackDown Live. I was starting to find my footing and having a good time with it. And then now, mind you, at the same time, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. Like, I'm still doing things outside of WWE and, auditioning here and there. And during this time, I got a chance to audition for Marvel's new project, The Inhumans. And so I remember I did the audition one day, and then my agent called me back and was like, yo, they loved you. In fact, you have a screen test. It's between you and one other person. Like, what? This is my dream come true. Me and one other guy, oh, I've got this. And this story was crazy because I remember my audition was on a Wednesday morning, and I was flying in from SmackDown, and I would have to go straight from the airport to the audition, but I was going to have plenty of time to make it. I was landing at LAX. Of all things, believe it or not, the flight gets diverted and can't land at LAX. It lands in Ontario, California. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, of all days. We're sitting on the tarmac, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I remember, I said, hey, I need to get off the plane. Because they didn't know how, they said we're going to be sitting here for like an hour or two. They let me off. And I couldn't even get did I check a bag? No, I didn't check a bag. I would not check a bag at that time. I did not. But I had to rent a car from Ontario, California. Mind you, my own car, was parked at LAX in the parking garage. But we weren't going to get there till I don't know how long. I need to get to this audition. I rented a car from Ontario, drove all the way to the audition, made it in literally the nick of time, went in there and smoked it. And I remember it was with Jeff Loeb, who was the VP of Marvel TV at that time. And He loved it. We talked afterwards, like, oh man, like how this was like one of my dream roles to be a superhero in a Marvel film. Man, I really hope we want you to have this, whatever they said. Oh no, they probably say it to everybody. I see the other guy on my way out. Break a leg, champ. Now I go out, I gotta go return this rental car to Ontario, California, and then go get my car and drive home. Anyway, say all this to say, they make me wait like a week. We figure out the contract. I know how much money I'm gonna be paid because Inhumans is gonna become a TV series after its theatrical release. Like, this is amazing. Getting ready to do SmackDown Live, getting ready to go on air. My agent calls me, and I'm thinking she's getting ready to tell me I got it. Like, boy, this SmackDown is gonna be lit, and it breaks my heart. Tells me they want in a different direction, and I'm like, you got to tell me more than that. You got to tell me more than that. And she says the reason is that she said, yeah, like the producers, they wanted you. You were their choice, but the network, the studio, whoever was the higher up, they felt I didn't have enough acting credits yet. So they wanted to go with somebody who was a little bit more established. That's why they went with the other guy. But they said I was the first choice. Was this true? I don't know. I didn't believe Jeff Loeb when he said, it doesn't matter. It broke my heart. They went with the other guy anyway. Doesn't matter what they told me. Man, I was devastated though. Like, to be that close, me and one other guy. And then I had to go out and call an entire SmackDown and not sell the disappointment I was feeling. That's the hardest SmackDown I ever had to call. Man. You know what? Sorry, this is my channel. I'm gonna take as much time as I want. I've never told this story because, like, honestly, this was one of the biggest disappointments in my life. Like, I was so hurt by this. And the thing of it is, as an actor, you can't be. Because, like, I always think I'm gonna get every role, and when you don't, but like, man, to be one other person away, it hurt. But you never know. Everything happens for a reason. And hey, that was the only Marvel property that failed miserably. Hey, they should have cast me. No disrespect to the other fella. They should have cast me. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you this part too. I don't need to tell this, but I'm gonna tell you. So I was so devastated by this, but I'm like, wait, I'm asking my agent all these questions. What do you mean? You're telling me because I didn't have enough credits? Like, I don't believe that's the reason. But that's what they said. Did you tell them I do this? Did you tell them I do that? My agent was like, she wasn't responding like I felt like she could have. Like, she didn't understand how important this was to me. And the fact that she didn't understand how important this was, I fired her over it. Sure did. I sure did. Canned her over that. It's like, if you don't understand this, you don't understand me, how are you going to represent me if you don't understand how important this is to me? Anyway, that was that. Got rid of her. And then it was 2 or 3 weeks later. And at the time, living in Beverly Hills and with my fiance and my son, and my mom is living with us, homeschooling my son. My fiance at the time, Jennifer Hudson, she was getting ready to go film or be a coach on The Voice in London. And so she's ready to take my son, and my mom was going there to homeschool him, but I was going to have to stay in the States and do SmackDown. I was going to visit when I could. I remember right at that morning, they were getting ready to leave. I get a phone call, and it's from Tyler Perry's right-hand man, Mark Swinton. And he tells me, hey, David, I got some good news for you. He's like, Tyler has a new movie, and he has a role in it that he wrote for you, and he wants you to play this. Would you be interested? Would I be interested? Yes, of course. So he's like, all right, great. We'll send you the details and whatever. And then it was cool. He's like, who's your agent? Because now look at this. I don't know if you know how agents work, but they get a percentage of whatever I make from the movie. I told you I just fired my agent. So she didn't book this for me. And Tyler Perry booked me myself. So now I get to give this commission to whoever I want. And I had other agents. So I called my 2 other agents who were in Atlanta, said, hey guys, guess what? I got free commission for you. I just booked a Tyler Perry movie, booked a lead role in it. So they were obviously over the moon. They got me. Shout out to those guys, Chris and Tay. Hope you guys are well. But anyway, booked the Tyler Perry movie and super excited for this. My first reaction is, hey, can I tell Marvel about this? Is it too late? Hey, I got a major credit coming up. Can we rethink this? But anyway, I tell WWE, they're excited. And so I'm trying to do SmackDown at the same time as filming the movie. And Tyler's really cool about that and says that he'll help me structure the schedule around it. And so Tyler shoots really fast. I don't know if you know. Shout out to Tyler Perry. He's got, Tyler Perry Studios, and that's where the movie was filmed, and it was in Atlanta. And I remember during that time, we had SmackDown in Indianapolis, and I had to be there for SmackDown Live. So I filmed SmackDown Live, and I needed to be on set the next morning, like first thing in the morning. And so Tyler Perry had arranged it where they booked a limousine for me that was waiting for me. So as soon as I finished commentary, I didn't wait for the dark match. I didn't wait for anything. I ran, jumped in the limo. They had like bedding set up for me in there and a pillow. And I slept as it drove me all night to Atlanta, straight to studio. I slept as best I could, got out of the limo, woke up, went straight to set. But it was awesome. The movie was a success. It was a Medea's family funeral. If you haven't seen it, check it out. So after this, man, this wrapped in March 2017. WWE super excited about me, and they're getting ready to have another draft, and they're going to shake things up. So the beginning of April 2017, I find out that I'm going to be traded from Raw. I'm sorry. So in April 2017, I find out that I'm going to be traded from SmackDown Live to the Raw commentary team, and I'm going to replace Byron Saxton. But the coolest part is, so I'm going to be working with Michael Cole and Corey Graves. I have great chemistry with Corey Graves. Like, I'm excited for this and to work with Michael Cole. But the coolest part was that they were going to announce it on live TV, and I was supposed to come up and have physicality with Byron, like pull him out of his chair. But I don't think Byron knew about this. This is what I was told, is that he didn't know about this yet. So it's kind of going to be a rib, but he's a worker. I've had matches with Byron Saxton in FCW. And so like I was supposed to do some kind of physicality. It was going to be really fun. Anyway, I was super excited about it. But then, just before they announced that, I find out that I booked another movie. It's an independent role. It is going to be cool. The WWE is super excited. Like, wait. No. All right. We want you to go film this. We'll put Booker T or somebody in your spot, and then so you won't lose it. And then you'll come back and, take up the role. So this is awesome. I fly to New Orleans or whatever for this independent film. Some got funny with their money. Let's just say this. I'm there a few weeks, and they got a hold up in production. And I'm like, look, I can't just wait out here until you guys figure this out. So I'm telling my agents, hey, you guys got to be over this. You guys got to take care of this. So anyway, I go back home. WWE's like, well, whenever it starts, it resumes. We don't want to have you jump in and out of commentary or whatever. So just wait. So I waited. And then during this time, WWE was like, well, you know what? We had an idea. Like, why don't you come out to the headquarters and meet with, some of our producers, and let's see what we can figure out for you just for like shows on the network. Because you've always had great ideas. And I had some pitches at that time. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I flew out to headquarters, had a few meetings and pitched a number of shows. One of them was a legal show that they were really high on. Another one was a workout show where I would interview talent while they worked out. They didn't use this for me, but shout out to my guy, Sheamus, and his Celtic Warrior workouts. If you hadn't seen those before. Great concept. I really like that idea. There was other ones too. There was a cooking one I had because I was also known for the fact, like, my physique, that while I was on the road, I would build like a makeshift kitchen in every hotel. This is true. This is part of the reason, like, I used to have Brian travel with me. He was my assistant. The first thing we did whenever we would land in any town for the live event loop, we'd usually go to Walmart because they have everything. there's a certain things I would buy every loop. I would buy a coffee maker, disposable one. I would buy a hot plate. I would buy a skillet, and then I would get like some egg whites, different things that I could make like in the room. And then I'd always try to book hotels that had like kitchens in them, or at least refrigerators. But anyway, like I would whip up meals like in the hotel room. They'd be decent, like bodybuilder meals, but I had to eat like every 2.5 hours. So this is how I stayed in shape. But anyway, like that would be just a wild video, or ideas, you showing you like cooking these meals and whatever. Well, now I've said it here, I'm sure I'll probably do it. Anyway, they already stole it before. But so this is what they had me doing at the time. Was they were really, trying to flesh out these different projects with me and finding which one would work the best. Also, during this time, I'm talking to Vince's trainer, Mike, and I'll just do that part all over. So also, as I mentioned, like when I was doing the Raw pre-show, again, I would travel to Stamford, Connecticut every week, and I got to train in Titan Towers at Vince's gym, which, if you don't know, the gym in Titan Towers at headquarters is one of the best gyms in the world. That's in my top 5 for sure. Vince curated it with the machines. Obviously, my top 5, there's Gold's Mecca, there's the original Powerhouse in Detroit. I like Red the Rills Gym. Where is that? Shreveport, Louisiana, somewhere, I think. Anyway, but Vince's gym that he curated in Titan Tower, that's up there. It's awesome. The dumbbells go up to like 200. They might even go to like 250, 300, something like that. But like he's got everything in it. If you're a bodybuilder, like if you're really into this, that gym is like Toys R Us. Oh, I'm telling you. But anyway, I used to train in there every week. Me and the Fink, Howard Finkel, would always used to be in there on the exercise bike. Called him my workout partner. But then Vince would be in there a lot with his trainer, Mike. Got to know Mike really well. Shout out to Mike. And then when I was on the road for SmackDown Live, I would always run into Vince and Mike in the gym. And like we'd always talk in there. To this day, I remember Vince gave me a tip, what Mike did, but how he has Vince do his hammer curls in a certain way, like you tilt your wrist. And to this day, I still do that. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Vince. But during this time, Mike was talking to me, and I was trying to lose a little bit of size because after being so close on that Marvel role, I was kind of self-conscious because I'd been told by casting directors before that I was just too muscular. And so if I had more of a mainstream normal looking physique, I might, get booked better. So I was like, maybe I'll try to lose some size. I'm so close to Marvel. And if I get another chance, I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So I'm trying to lose some size, and it goes against everything that I've done in my life because I'm already pretty lean, but I need to lose muscle mass, not fat. And so I needed to find a way to challenge myself. So I know bodybuilders they have these new categories like physique champions. Guys just get shredded. That's the goal. How shredded can you get? So I'm like, well, maybe I could look at one of those diets. I started asking Mike about it. He said, oh, you should do a competition. Like, oh, I never wanted to do a competition. But he was like, no, but you should, like with your shape, that you could be great. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, that would give me a goal to shoot for. So at least if I'm losing my muscle mass and stuff, there's a reason. There might be a medal or a trophy at the end of it. So I'm like, oh, okay. Start talking to him about it and, start training for this contest. And then he tells me, but with your shape, you should do classic physique. All right, because you got great legs. All right, well, classic physique. So I had to hit like a certain weight limit. I think for my height, it was like 212. And I've always been 235. I was pretty lean. So I had to drop a considerable amount. Anyway, during this time, I'm kind of preparing for it. And, all right, I'll be careful about this. I had a very public separation and split from my son's mother during this time. And without getting into it too much, there were a lot of false stories put into the news and the media about me that were patently and provably false. False. Anyway, needless to say, this derailed my contest prep. And nearly derailed my employment at WWE. So I do want to say this. Part of the reason, I do have respect for Vince McMahon and talk about that. Like, our relationship was, he stuck by me during this time and knew that he's one of the few people who knew the truth. I showed him, he may or may not have been aware of evidence that's cleared my name and exculpated me from all of this. He may or may not have been aware of that. We'll talk about that when and if I can. Needless to say, the contest came and went, and I had bigger things on my plate right then. Fast forward, SummerSlam 2018. I'm at the Barclays Center, and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes up to me backstage, and talking to him, and I've only had a handful of conversations with Steve Austin, and so I remember these pretty well. In this particular conversation, what I remember is he came up to me and was excited to see me. He clearly knew about my personal life, because it was everywhere. At one point, I had 7 unique stories on TMZ at the same time. 7 in one day. Yeah, it was inescapable. But Stone Cold comes up to me, and he's asking me how things are. Like, all right, cool. He's like, I'm so happy to see you. Glad everything got cleared up for you. Yada yada. And he says, so you still gonna do this bodybuilding contest? And I'm like, wait, he knows about that? Now, here's the thought process. How would he know about that? The only people who knew about that were me and Mike, Vince's trainer. But Mike told me that he told Vince. Well, Vince clearly told Stone Cold. So now Vince knows about this. And the way Stone Cold said this was like, the fact that Vince knows about this, now I have to go through this. This is a challenge. That's basically what this was. Stone Cold was relaying a personal challenge to me from him and Vince that, are you really going to go through this bodybuilding contest? And so now I told Stone Cold to his face, you're absolutely right. So now I have to do this. And now I'm thinking about this too. I've just obligated myself to this bodybuilding contest. Like now I, no playing around. I absolutely have to do this. I have to find a contest. So I find there's a contest coming up, and it's like end of October, early November, whatever it is. But by the time I find it, I'll tell you how I found it. I was in the gym one day, and one of my buddies came up to me who I know, and he's like, hey, do you mind if I ask you to take a look at my physique? And I'm like, wait, what? This isn't weird. If you're into bodybuilding, this is the only time this isn't weird. Otherwise, if you're not into bodybuilding, yes, this is extremely weird. So he asked me if I go to the bathroom with him and look at his physique in the mirror. Now, I didn't really want to go to the bathroom, so I was like, hey man, why don't we go into the fitness studio over here? Make this a little bit less weird. But also, so he shows me, and I'm like, hey, all right, man, yeah, yep, look good, whatever. And he's like, should I drop carbs? What do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, when is the contest? He's like, oh, it's in 3 days. Hey, I'm not gonna say this guy's name. 3 days was not gonna be enough. It's not gonna be enough. Sounds like, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. Make a long story short, I see him 5 days later. I run into him at the grocery store, and I'm like, hey man, how'd the contest go? Obviously, I know he got last place. He's like, I won. You what? You won? And he shows me the pictures. I'm like, look, if he won this, I can show up right now and win. I was like, all right, I found my contest. I must have found it. This is how confident I felt. I was like, oh, I don't even have to do much. But he was in a different category, different class. But anyway, I found a contest and signed up for it. And this was meaningful because, look, in wrestling, everything else is predetermined. I know if I'm going to win. I know if I'm going to lose. That's usually the case. But here in bodybuilding, now this is something different because this is one of my passions, and I really pride myself in this and put a lot into this. But I never started bodybuilding or creating my physique to please other people or to fit standards or scorecards in bodybuilding. That's not what I have a look in my mind. I want to look like a comic book superhero aesthetic. But anyway, also people have been telling me since I got into this, like how great my physique looks. Like, man, you should compete. And so I thought it would be cool to do it at least once in my life. And now I have to, because I've obligated myself to Stone Cold and Vince. So I didn't tell anybody I was going to do this except for my son, who knew, because again, I was 235. I have to get down to 212. I have to lose a lot of muscle. I had to do a lot of fasting. Like I would fast for like 36 hours, just not eat. Most people that were going to be in my category had to put on size to stand next to me. I had to lose size. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this. And I remember I had to do the Raw pre-show and I wasn't able to drink anything. This was like the day or 2 days before the contest. And I was only able to have like 6 ounces of coffee. I had it in a tiny little cup. I just sipped it all day. It's all I had for the whole day. Like it was nuts. I dried out, and boy, when I showed up for that contest, I didn't know what was going to happen. But I remember, like the night before, this bodybuilder I knew told me, "All right, David, here's your recommendation. Go get a double cheeseburger from Portillo's. Shout out to Portillo's again, and get a milkshake and fries." And I'm like, "And do what with it? Like, and eat it." The night before the contest? I'm like, come on. Like, no, I'm serious. Trust me, do this. At that time, I was practically delirious. I said, okay. I remember I went to Portillo's, came in with the order, double cheeseburger, fries, chocolate cake shake, which is amazing. I sat down to eat it. My son starts going crazy. Dada, no, the contest is tomorrow. I can't let you. You've done so good on your diet. Don't do it. But I'm like, no, David, listen. He's telling me. I had to show him the text message. He was like my coach. He's like, I don't know. And even me, I'm like, I don't know. But I kid you not. I woke up the next day. I was like 210 and shredded. I've never been this shredded in my life. I mean, I had no one. I don't even know. Scientifically, I don't know how this worked. But I remember, like, I woke up and I stood on the scale. And as soon as I saw that it said 210, I started yelling. I started screaming in the house. I was like, it's over with. And David was there. My nephew Trey, they came around like, what's going on? I was like, I made the weight. And they saw me too. They were like, oh, you won. I was like, I know, all I have to do is show up. Not true, but I was feeling confident. I'd never seen myself look this good. Anyway, I did show up, and it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do because, again, I'm not controlling this. This is, subjective to these judges, and like, I really like my physique. How is it going to affect me mentally if they tell me they don't like my physique? Like, what's that going to do to me? I've been doing this so long. Am I really about this life or not? But also, this is crazy because I did this on 4 weeks notice when I found this contest. Most people do a 12-week prep. So this is like me and the LSAT all over again. But somehow I tend to thrive in pressure. So did the contest. First place. Thankfully, thank God, one and done. And I said, hey, everybody, take pictures, take all the pictures you can of me now while I look like this, because I don't even care about cheat meals. I don't care about pizza. I don't care about donuts. I'm so thirsty. I'm going to go in the back and just drink water. And this is all going to go away. But it was awesome. I won the contest. And that night, what did I do? Oh, I sent Vince a text message of the video of me winning and showing it to him. He was so excited, messaged me back. But it was awesome. It was awesome that, I carried it through and I did it. So I don't even know. I have no idea if Stone Cold even knows that not only did I do the contest, I won. Hopefully Vince told him. But anyway, now that's another accolade I can add. I should put that up behind me. The sword I got from it. Swords. Anyway. Okay. Wait, that was it? Oh. And then, okay. So now, after the bodybuilding contest, I continued to work at WWE all the way up through 2020. And the cool thing is, WWE, they had reached out to me while we were waiting for the movie to pick back up. And while we were working on these other potential projects for me for WWE Network. And they said, we really feel strongly about, 2 of these projects at least. So here's what we want to do. We're going to keep you off of commentary, at least until we figure out which projects are going to go. And in the meantime, obviously still going to pay you whatever. But if you feel like showing up, or if you're available to show up to the pay-per-view pre-shows, that would be great. Now, this is important because they were giving me the option. Like it used to be, I would just receive travel. I was summoned to be somewhere. Now, it was different. Just the fact that they asked me, hey, Dave, are you available on such and such day for the pre-show? Absolutely. Because now, like, they're finally respecting me and my value. It's outside of the ring, but they're seeing my value. So eventually, I'm going to parlay this back into the ring. Because now I've done it. I've essentially gotten the respect that I wanted by actually becoming David Otunga, the A-list gimmick in real life. As far as Vince and WWE's eyes, but in real life, and they loved it and they were treating me as such. So whenever I was asked, I would always go. I jumped at the chance because, hey, I wanted to work, and it was still getting me out there, and all of this was still part of my strategy in trying to somehow figure out an on-screen character. So during this time also, not only did we have projects that were getting ready to go, and one of them, probably the strongest one, was a legal show based on me, but at the same time, the character that I pitched was a lawyer character that would have gone in line with this, and it was an on-screen character. So basically, I was positioned in the perfect spot I wanted to be, where I had a new character that I'm imagining if this legal show would have gone, that character would have been on TV. I would have got back to where I was going to. I mean, this guy would have had to win a single championship. He was dope. But fortunately, during this time, COVID hit. The whole department got wiped out. But listen, COVID hit in 2019 or 2020. And I'll tell you what was going on at that time. We had just filmed a Nexus documentary, and this was like February or March 2020, I want to say. We just filmed the Nexus documentary. I sat for my part in it. It was awesome. And the documentary was really good. It was completed. And again, they were working on a legal show for me. So I stayed in touch with this department a good bit. And then on April 15th, 2020, there was a mass layoff. I forget what they called it. I think they called it Red Wednesday or something like that, because so many people lost their job. And I remember being in my house. I was on my exercise bike playing 2K with my son, multitasking. I get a phone call from Michael Cole. I gotta pause. Tells me, hey, Dave, I'm sorry, man. It's a bad day. I got bad news. It's like, we're almost everybody's being let go. So we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know if we're going to have, pay-per-views anymore or whatever. And I mean, understandably, if they didn't know what was going on with the pandemic, they had to cut, budget cuts. Look, I hardly worked there. I was still being paid, but I know I was overpaid for what they asked me to do. So I understood it. But, it was what it was. Michael Cole told me, like the moment he can bring me back, he would if he could. And that was it. So anyway, that was devastating. Don't get me wrong. That was devastating. I had worked there since 2008. And Cole, you never know what's going to happen. But also at that time, all right, I'm trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? Like for money and stuff. I still have these projects going with them. So I call my contact at WWE like a couple days later, whatever, no answer. And then I call again, it takes me a couple times. Finally picks up. I'm asking to see, hey, I don't know if they know I got released. But hey, are we still doing this project? Because I figure like, well, are they releasing me from the announcer's contract? But obviously I'm still talent because we're still working on this other project. She tells me she got fired and her whole department got fired. They all got let go. And I'm like, wait, well, what about like the Nexus documentary? Yeah, it's completed. And it was nice for her to tell us. She's like, we just are, the student people talk about this, but they just cut it down to however many minutes it needed to be, under an hour, whatever it was. And then now it's nowhere. They got fired like the next day. And as far as like my legal show, same thing. And I remember asking her, please, can you send me the pitch deck? Because she told me though too, she was like, they were really high on this and a couple of networks were really interested. So she's like, you should do this on your own, even, you know, if, because she found out I was released from WWE, I was telling her, she's like, well, you should try to do this on your own. So I was trying to get the pitch deck back from her so I could go pitch it. She's like, I can't. It's in my WWE email account. They locked me out. They canceled it. So there you go. But I say all that to say, like, if any of those, if COVID hadn't happened, man, if that product would have gone, the lawyer character would have been back on TV. This could have been cool. But hey, that's life. Everything happens for a reason. That just means something even better is coming. So that was it. My time at WWE came to an end. And in my next video, I will talk about the options I explored after that. Potentially going to another wrestling promotion, AEW maybe. Other options in entertainment. And we'll pick that up next time.